Welcome back to Hardball. This week, Republican presidential candidates made clear where they stand on immigration, I'll say. Let's look at some of the lowlights, you might call them.
Will have a real fence, 20 feet high, with barbed wire, electrified, with a sign on the other side that says, "It can kill you."
Admit you lose all of your standing from my perspective because you hired illegals in your home and you knew about it for a year.
So we went to the company and we said, look, you can't have any illegals working on our property. I'm running for office, for Pete's sake.
I think the person who really has a problem with illegal immigration in the country is President Obama. It's his uncle and his aunt who are illegal aliens who have been allowed to stay in this country.
Does the Republican Party risk losing all Latino support by taking such a hard line? Dana Milbank's a Washington Post columnist, and John Feary's a Republican strategist. Gentlemen, this is tricky business. You first, Dana. What is going on here? Have the Republicans, I mean, just talking in political terms, not legal terms, we need reform. Why have they given up on getting any Hispanic votes?
You know, Chris, it sort of seems like a death wish to me. Not only do you have Herman Cain, not only do you have everybody trying to outdo each other and being tough on illegal immigration. I went to a hearing on the Hill just yesterday where you had the Republicans just pounding on Janet Napolitano for not being tough enough on immigration. The effect of all of this, of course, is to give legal immigrants and American citizens of Latino descent, particularly voters, the impression that the Republicans just don't like them. I don't think this is necessarily a problem right now in a 2012 election, but this is the fastest growing and arguably the most important voting bloc that's going to be deciding politics for decades to come in this country. Why they want to antagonize them, it's like a form of ritual suicide.
When do you think, John, it becomes just an ethnic slur? I mean, I try to be proper. Some people say undocumented workers. That's very pro. I would think a person here illegally. Some people say illegal aliens, which is pretty strong language, as Bachman does. That sort of doubles it down. They're already illegal. Let's call them aliens. The others just call them not even people, call them illegals. I watched that debate the other night, and I thought they're just trying to really put these people down. Illegals. That's not even a person.
Well, you know,
how about illegal people, at least? Go ahead.
First, I agree with Dana in one sense. This is a very important voting bloc, and it becomes much more important in the years to come. So Republicans have to get this messaging right. I think Mitt Romney got to it during the debate when he said, I am for legal immigration. I want to make that perfectly clear. And believe me, Republicans understand, especially the top echelons of the Republican Party, they understand how important this voting bloc is. And they are doing everything they can to appeal to illegal Hispanic voters, which are many and are going to be more to come. And that's extraordinarily important voting bloc in the years to come. You're right, Dana.
Well, let me ask you about this one fact before we get to Alabama, which has just done a whole big roll-up on how tough they're getting. What's wrong with giving a kid whose parents come in here illegally when they're 3 or 4 years old? They go to school, they get good enough grades to get into the University of Texas, Dana, and their applicant is accepted, and they get the same in-state tuition as everybody else who lives in the state. They live in the state. They're residents of the state. Their parents came in illegally. Right. They don't have official papers, obviously, but they live there. What's wrong with giving them in-state tuition, and why are all the Republicans jumping on that?
Well, I think most Americans, and certainly the independent centrist voters, would say there's nothing wrong with that. George W. Bush certainly would have said there's nothing wrong with that, and that's why Rick Perry was taking what had been a very central position in the Republican Party. But there's a very angry wing of conservatism right now that Herman Cain's appealing to. I mean, now the birther movement is done with Obama. They're going after Marco Rubio. They're going after Bobby Jindal, saying these guys
Well, we've got a story
qualified.
on that. Here's a Rubio flash just came across. The Washington Post is reporting that the parents of Florida Senator Marco Rubio, who often talk about how the family fled Castro's Cuba when they came to this country, actually came to America 2.5 years before Castro came to power in Cuba. Rubio is a rising star in the Republican Party. He's often talked about as a possible VP candidate. He says he based his bio on his family's oral history and not a review of passports and documents. This is a strange story, John Feary, and it's just jumping us right now. He has always associated himself, I believe, with the anti-Castro community of Little Havana, New Jersey, and elsewhere in this country, and I've always been with them. But it turns out that his family came here before Castro came to power, which means they came here during Batista. Can he now claim to be part of that community politically, and can he claim that he's been giving the complete story of his life accurately?
Well, Chris, I don't know all the intricacies of this story. I do think, though, that Marco Rubio has a very compelling life story, and I do think that he's not only going to be a rising star.
But is he the son of exiles, as he said all along, or isn't he?
I don't know.
He's not the son of exiles. That's not true. It turns out they came here before Castro came to power, according to the Washington Post today.
I didn't read that story. I don't know that. I don't know the intricacies. You'd have to ask Rubio's office. All I can tell you about Marco Rubio is he understands the immigrant experience. He's one of the best spokesmen for the possibilities of America. And I think whatever the story says, he is going to be and continues to be a star in the Republican Party.
Okay, well, thank you very much. We're going to get to that story. A lot more tomorrow night. Dana Milbank and John Fear.